So in the previous lecture we talked about indentation, left and right, and a special first line indentation or a hanging indentation, which is everything but the first line. So if I were to apply that to here, then it'll look like that. And we also talked about these on the ruler, and just as a reminder, view, show ruler. But that's not the only way you can indent. Suppose I wanted, and I'll just press backspace to get both of these right back to the beginning. Suppose I wanted to do a sort of table. We'll do tables themselves later, but suppose I wanted to say description, cost, paper, $5, pens, $3. You can see that they're not in exactly the same place. What you used to be able to do on typewriters is press the tab key, and that would move where you are to the next tab stop. So you could reliably get to a point in the page which would be underneath each other. And it's exactly the same here. If I click to the beginning of cost and press the tab key on the keyboard, and the tab key is just there on my computer, then it goes across to, in this case, 1 inch across the page, 2.56 centimeters. If I press tab again, then it moves to 1.5 inches and then 2 inches. And you can literally see this by putting the reverse P on. So let's just undo that. Now let's put the tab here before the $5. Will it get to underneath cost? The answer is no, because the first tab point is at 1/2 inch, 1.27 centimeters. So I have to press tab again, and same for the pens. But now they are all aligned. But suppose I didn't want to do that. Suppose I just wanted to have one tab, not having to press 2 tabs. Well, we can do that from the ruler as well. Instead of dragging these about, I can just click where I want the tabs to go. So this overrides the default tab stops that I was talking about earlier, which are by default on my computer every 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put a tab on the 3 centimeter mark, and I'll just click literally right here on the ruler. Notice what happens. So we have a little mark, it looks like an L, and it's also replicated over here. It's called a, so you can see it's called a left tab. Remember this position, that will be important later. So now I can press tab before the cost, and it won't go to 2.56 centimeters, it will go to 3 centimeters because I've got an actual tab stop. Similarly, I can press tab here and here. Now, when I go to another line, notice what happens to that. It disappears because the tab stop is only for these 3 lines. Now that I've got the tab stop there, I can drag it about. And I can get rid of it by dragging, in my case, I drag it off the ruler. You can drag up, but I generally drag down. And so as the explicit tab stop disappears, we're left with the default tab stops every 1/2 inch. So I can add extra columns. So I can put date bought, 1st Jan, 2nd Jan. And notice that I haven't got it quite right. I need another tab. So let's put those right. First of all, I'll do a tab stop here at 3 centimeters, and then another one over here at 4.5. It's important to have enough space. If I put the tab stop here, then at 3.5, then they wouldn't be underneath each other because there literally would not be space. And I can put as many tab stops as I want. Now all of these are left aligned. Suppose I didn't want a left aligned, I want a middle aligned. Well, let's get rid of that tab stop. And let's go over to this left tab indicator here and click to change it from an L to an upside down T. So that indicates that instead of being, notice where it is up, right at the left of it, it's now up in the middle. So if I click here at 3 centimeters, you can see it's now centralized. And similarly, if I get rid of this tab stop and centralize here, there you can see it's centralized. Now if I click again over here, I get a right tab. So suppose I want the last column to be right aligned. No problem. This next one looks like the center, except there's a full stop in it. So let's see what that means. So if I put another tab for detailed cost, and one of them cost $10 and one of them cost 0.99, let's say. Okay, so if I put in a left tab, it all gets aligned up to left. Same for middle, same for right. But if I put in a decimal, let's see what happens. So you can see that where there is a decimal, it gets aligned there. Where there isn't, it's right aligned. So if I drag this across, you can see that it is right aligned where there is no decimal point, but where there is a decimal point, it gets aligned with the decimal point. So that allows me now to just put $10 like that. So that can be quite useful if you have got some figures with decimals and some without. It allows you to keep it aligned and not have to worry too much about it. There's just 3 more. There's this, which actually doesn't align text. What it does is it creates a vertical bar. Never used it. And then we have the first line, which we mentioned earlier, and the remaining lines, which allow you, instead of having to drag this, which can be quite awkward sometimes, you're trying to drag the triangle and not the square, instead I can just click and it gets me wherever I want it to go. So if I just click a few times, I keep seeming to miss it. There we are. I can now just click rather than dragging and do the first line of a paragraph. And that is all about putting tabs in the ruler. There's one more way of putting tabs, and this one's even more versatile.